Imagine this. You get to the end of this year and you are the same person. You have the same thoughts, you have the same income level, you have the same body, you have the same relationships. Would you be okay with that? I know some of you are crushing it and you're happy, but even then, I'm sure you want to get more. And then I know a lot of you, because a lot of you send me messages and we have great conversations. And I know a lot of you actually want to change, like for real. You're fed up, whether it's a combination of just years and years of kind of staying at the same level and now you're pissed off and you want more, whether it's just pressures from the situation that you find yourself in. Like I was talking to another guy earlier today and he's got a kid on the way and, he's just seeing like he knows he needs to level up for himself, for his wife, and his future baby. So I'm making this video for you, okay? Here's what's happening there. We are playing out patterns. If you really think about it, it's really logical. This is not some out there esoteric concept. This is a very straightforward idea. Imagine this. When you're a little kid, you're a little baby, imagine you're like a little robot, okay? I know this is going to sound crude, and I know you're not a robot. I know you're a human. But for the sake of an example, this will help you to understand what's going on. You imagine this. So you're a little baby. You got a little baby robot, okay? And then you get programmed. So much like if you're a scientist, robot engineer, you're going to put in code into that robot to start to teach it stuff. And you're going to teach it how to walk and how to, open its little robot eyes and how to, move its arms and pick stuff up and whatever. That's you when you were a little kid. That was all the adults around you. They were teaching you things. They were teaching you A is for apple and Z is for zebra. And, they were teaching you how to stand up and how to walk and how to crawl and all that. Cool. That's how you learned so much. Here's the issue. What you learned also includes all the negative stuff. So if you witnessed your parents fighting over money, or you witnessed their, you could only go on one vacation every few years, and, your parents felt a sense of sadness from that because they wanted to provide you more. All of that got downloaded into your programming. So little baby robot, remember little baby robot analogy? That robot is literally getting downloaded, not just with the code, but it's like that code has little viruses in it and it like glitches. So that code is still running in you. That's the point. So between age 0 and 7, we have this very fascinating phase that we're in as human beings. It's called our natural learning ability. And between age 0 and 7, it is wide open. This is how we learn how to walk, talk, crawl, do all the stuff. It's why if you give a little kid Spanish or Chinese or whatever language, and you expose it to them consistently, they will download it. They will literally pick it up. And as long as it's practiced, it will be retained. This is also, if, for example, there's another guy that I've been chatting with and, we're starting to work together. He was born in China and his parents got him out of there, but he didn't really start learning English till he was like between age 6 and 8. So there's a very fascinating thing that happens is, imagine, right, the little baby robot version, you got programmed with a certain language, and then as that programming got almost full, then you're expected to learn a different language. Here's the issue. After age 7, you switch out of the natural learning ability and you go into memorizing. Do you want a clear example of this? I'll make it super obvious. Imagine how quickly a little baby can pick up a language versus use an adult trying to pick up a new language. Or imagine as an adult, if we were to sit down and read a book on, we could read a little kid's book and you'd be bored. You'd be like, I know this, I understand this, whatever. It's a kid's book. I'll read it to my kid. But if we were to sit down and now open up a book on quantum computing, and we were going to study how quantum computers work and how they process information and how qubits are different than binary code and all this, you would gloss over. You would not be able to keep up. And neither would I. I don't necessarily have an interest in that. But here's my point. Between age 0 and 7, you download into your source code. And then after age 7, you're more utilizing what's already in there. Don't get me wrong. You can still learn new things as an adult, but it's way harder. And you typically have to get yourself into a heightened energetic state to learn. Here's another example. This was years and years ago in 2014. So whatever, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I went to Brazil. I was in university at the time and I was studying psychology. And I wanted to go to Brazil. I talked my university into it. They let me make some, cross study program, whatever. So I go to Brazil. And for 6 months before Brazil, I was doing Duolingo because I was ready. I was ready to learn Portuguese because I never learned Portuguese. I learned Spanish and I got okay at Spanish. But now I had to learn Portuguese. So I'm doing Duolingo every day. I'm hitting the hot streak, right? They're giving me coins and whatever because I'm a Duolingo expert. And I'm even saying the stuff out loud. I'm learning Portuguese, okay? And then I touch down in Brazil and I have to order my first taxi and I don't know shit. I know oi, which means hi. And that was it. The information didn't get into my source code, my subconscious. No, it was just in my mind. Another example of this is now imagine like with a computer. When you're an adult, you're kind of dragging and dropping stuff on the screen. You're not getting you're not opening up the hardware and the circuit board and moving stuff around in there. No, you're basically on the screen. You're kind of working with whatever you got. Sure, you can do a little system update. Sure, sometimes you can, learn a couple new things, but it's like 5% as powerful compared to when you were a kid. Here's the good news. You can change this. And I'm going to get to how you can change this and how I've changed it for myself and how I've literally helped hundreds of other people do this too. Okay? So if you want things to change and you want to end the year super strong and in a totally new position, keep listening. If you want to stay in the same position, then I would ask you why. Why do you want to stay in the same position? Don't you see the state of the world? Don't you see how fast things are changing? Don't you see how you are at risk with your job? You have AI, automation, you have robots, you have changing economic policies. All of this is changing. Those who adapt will thrive. Those who don't adapt will be sorry. Okay? So, part of a really cool goal between now and the end of the year is you should say, I should be the most adaptable, teachable person I can be. So, back to my analogy. Baby robot. Okay? This was you as a kid. You had all of these belief systems. You have your vocabulary, which is really the base program of everything you learned. And then you have definitions of all these words too. For example, if your parents said, here's some money, they had a definition of money or the word allowance, right? For some of you, allowance might have meant, $50 a week. And for some of you, allowance might have meant just they don't kick you out. For other you, allowance might have meant, 50 cents, per chore or whatever. These are all examples of how you got programmed. If there was lack in your household, if there was fighting in your household, if you had times where, especially going to school, you had peer pressure, you had to fit in, there's so much going on. Here's another example of this. Nowadays, it's really cool because more people are waking up and more people are starting to see, hey, I got people around me that don't really want more, but I'm trying to find the people who actually want more. I'm trying to be around the people who actually want to thrive and have really smart kids and really cool community and actually create a better world. And, but I don't really see anyone around me doing it. That's the beauty of online. That's the beauty of YouTube. I'll put up a YouTube video and I'll usually get 2 or 3 people messaging me just randomly because the YouTube algorithm. Thanks, YouTube algorithm. And they'll see my videos. And then, I usually say, hey, reach out and find me on Facebook. And I'll get messages from people who are like, hey, I want that. I want to be around people like that. So my reason for saying this is if you're not at the point in life where you want to be, there's a couple things you got to do. One is you got to have connections with people who are living life how you would want that. Okay? I'll give you an example of what I do in my life, just because, again, some of you have never seen me before. You're just finding this video. Just give you an example. Back in 2019, 2020 was the first time I cracked making 6 figures a month. I also then was able to get out of that business because it was soul sucking. So we took that money and we were able to place it properly. I married my wife. We had an awesome wedding with all of our like-minded, cool friends who are here to also change the world. We bought a homestead. Now we have kids. We raise our kids. We homeschool them. I know some people get triggered by homeschooling, but I'll just say this. Our goal is to raise extremely effective children. And so we have that. We have local community. I run a mastermind every Saturday with my colleague Pedro. Him and I have long-term goals of getting into politics together. And I have really cool community. It doesn't mean my life is stress free. Doesn't mean it's sunshine and rainbows every day. The other day it was negative, 17 degrees here, and I had to take care of our chickens because we got a homestead, and it's freaking cold, and you got to carry water out to them, and there's no days off. But I love it, and this is what I signed up for. And then I'll give you an example of some of the other friends that I have that are very close to me that are also part of these communities that you can join and you can be part of it. Okay? Some of my other friends, they had backgrounds. Like one of them, he was going through the system. He's a smart kid, ended up going into the Air Force, realized he's like, I don't want to do this with my life. He started going down, the rabbit hole of questioning things and all that. And then he ended up getting himself out of that and then getting really into self-development, really into education, and then really focused on how do you actually make a difference in the world. Built himself a 7-figure company in the first year. Ends up, now he has 3 kids, an amazing wife. They also do the homesteading thing. They actually, my wife and his wife talk about, having milking cows and, goats and all sorts of animals to have. So it's like, there's an example of someone where I talk to him almost every day. And we're friends, but we work together on the same purpose. And we use a lot of the same tools to reprogram ourselves. Okay. I'll give you one more example and then we'll keep going. So there's another guy, and he reached out a little while back. So he knew my wife, and he really wanted to homeschool his son as well. Grew up, he's kind of in a small town, doesn't trust the school system, really wants his kid to thrive. He himself had a really rough upbringing, like super rough. Like I would not wish that on anyone, but just a lot of trauma, a lot of lack, a lot of poverty mindset. And he has an amazing wife, and they're a really cool team, but they would always bicker, right? Before they found the group, they'd always, be bickering. They didn't know how the relationship was going to work. They're just hitting a brick wall. And he reached out to me 2 years ago. He's like, dude, I cannot be in the same position next year as I am now. And I was like, hey, bro, got a couple things that I think will help you. One is this community. And then 2 is there's 2 other tools that work really, really well for this. And we've had a blast. And now he's, I'm going to see him this Saturday. I'm going to see him next Saturday. We host events. His son and my son are friends. They learn together. His kid's now straight up a genius. Like I met him when he was 4, and he was, he's already a cool, smart, stable little kid, but he was kind of shy, and you could tell he was ready to start learning, but his parents didn't really know how to actually really give him a good education. And then my wife and I supported him along with our whole community. And now all 3 of them are crushing it. And I'm excited. At some point, they're going to have another kid. And I mean, he wants to have like 6 kids, right? But it's so cool because these are the people I spend my time talking with like every day. And so if you resonate with that and you want to have friends like this, there's a couple things now I'll get into of what you can do. First is you got to establish connection. So if you're watching this, and if we've already chatted before, feel free, hit me up again. Let's get on another call. I always got stuff going on. I'm very good at supporting people too. So if you're just like, hey, yeah, I'm kind of frustrated with this, or I'm not sure what to do here, let's chat, because I've got very good at helping people. Even if I just ask a question that can give you a breakthrough, to me, that was worth my time, because I want to see everyone around me thriving as much as possible. Okay. Also though, for some of you, you may have never connected with me, right? I will put a link in the description below to either book straight to my calendar or message me on Facebook. Don't be shy. Come on. You get one life. Like, who else do you know that's talking about this stuff? I have spent a lot of money going to masterminds, going to networking groups, buying freaking so many courses. I go to events all the time. There are very few people who are actually talking at this level of knowing how to change up here, and then also change what's going on in your life around you, in your sphere. Okay. That is what I'm very proud of myself, that I've stuck with this, because now I've got really good at helping people and really good at supporting people. And I have tons and tons and tons of just screenshots and cool stuff from people that are saying like, hey dude, like this helped me massively. Or like, hey, you shared this with me and this happened or whatever. Like I have helped people find their now wife, or the woman helped her find her now husband, and they have kids, and now their kids are friends with my kids. So it's like, that's the win-win. Someone's like, well, what's in it for you? Why are you so helpful? I want my kid to be surrounded by like thousands of other awesome, amazing kids. And then I also want to have cool friends. So, every weekend we can do a barbecue or hang out, or, go do the sauna and the cold plunge. Like right now, so I'm in my office, and it's at the shed at my home. It's like a pole barn, right? This is why the whatever, the walls look weird sometimes in here, right? I'm still building it out. It's going to be an epic podcast studio and just like really cool office. But anyway, this is my current setup. Okay. But part of having this, so I have a 2.5-year-old and then a 5-month-old, 2 boys. And we're building this all out so we can have like, we'll have kind of the classic, foosball table, couches, lounge area. But then we're going to have a maker space so we can have like a 3D printer. We can have like a woodworking shop, all of that, all in here. And so we're doing more events too. So how cool would it be if you either have kids or you want to have kids, that at some point you can come over and my son can teach your kid how to do 3D printing and engineering and all that stuff, right? Like how awesome would that be for your kids in their, little 0 to 7 age to be exposed to that? Or maybe your kids will teach my kids stuff. Like happens, that happens often. I've one of my friends, the one I was telling you about, his son is starting to teach my kid, and this kid is a genius at like chess and like all sorts of stuff. And so that's what I get from it, is continue to expand an awesome life. So how do you do this? Like I said, step 1 is connect. We got to connect, because then that leads to this other part. So there's a little 3-step formula. It's first, you need awareness. You need awareness of where you're stuck in your own mind, in your own programming. What are your patterns? What you need awareness of where you're looping and where you are progressing. Because I'm sure in some areas you are progressing, okay? But I'm guessing you want to progress quite a bit more, quite a bit faster, okay? And when you succeed, you don't want to sabotage it. That's the other big part. I've seen a lot of people have some success. I've seen a lot of people make their first, 100K, or even, they make their 7 figures and then they sabotage it. And their old patterns that they thought they worked through come up. And then they either go into greed, they get into alcohol, it just turns into a mess. So I'm interested in sustainable success. So you got these 3 steps. You got awareness, step 1. Step 2 is deprogramming. So you got to deprogram the bullshit out of your mind, the limiting beliefs, the ineffective definitions of words. There's so much to deprogram. I'm still working on this for myself. I've been doing this for 5 years, okay? But you can make so much progress relatively quickly. So step 2 is deprogram. And then step 3 is to reprogram. So you can take out your ineffective beliefs around money or business or, what it takes to succeed or health or whatever. And so you can deprogram that, and then you can reprogram and put in new programs. So now on an automatic unconscious level, you do the right thing. Back to the baby robot analogy, right? It's so funny. I have like this vision in my mind of a baby robot. It's like what I'm visualizing when I say this. So, baby robot, here's the interesting part. Now as an adult, there are 2 tools specifically you can use to actually get back at that source code. So instead of just trying to learn through listening to podcasts and taking notes and doing flashcards or whatever you're trying to do to learn, because I know some of you are genuinely trying to freaking learn. And you take notes and you go to the seminars and you fill up pages of notes, but nothing really lasts. It's because you're not getting it to that source code, to that subconscious mind. So there's 2 tools. I talk about them often. One is a writing process, and I can send you that, but I want to talk to you first so I can understand what are you actually struggling with. Because the writing, it works really well for most people. Some people are super messed up, and it's going to take more than just that. But the writing process is really good. There's a free course for it. The other step is so there's a technology, and I talk about it often, but it's a tool you can use to literally reprogram every last part of you so it can just be that best, purest form. This is how I made a lot of money in business. This is how I can learn skills really quickly. For those of you who are into, sales and marketing and all that stuff, I've taken a lot of those sales and marketing courses, and the person I buy it from, they end up telling me, because I learn it very quickly, and then I ask them for more questions, and I get that clarification. Because I love hanging out with people who are experts. Then I essentially download their worldview, their vocabulary, their definitions, their programming, their expertise, and I download that. And I consistently get this. Like, there's a guy, Jeremy Miner. I worked with him. If any of you are into that sales world, whatever. And I have the message still on Voxer. I could dig it up if I needed to. And he goes, dude, how do you learn this stuff so fast? Like, you've learned this faster than anyone I've ever encountered. It's because I have a learning tool. Okay? I'm not special. I'm a normal dude. I had a decent upbringing, right? I grew up here in America. Sure, life is pretty good. But I wasn't programmed for massive success. I was programmed for decent system success, make my nice little paycheck and, take the weekends off and maybe have a cabin or whatever. But that was my programming. My programming now is that I can actually be a leader amongst other leaders to support the change that we need in the world. That's my bigger picture. Okay. And then learning how to do that and not have stress and not have anger. Because those are baseline programs for me. It was like, if I work really hard, I'm gonna have to feel stress and frustration, and I'm gonna be kind of pissed every day. If it's a work day, I'm gonna be pissed. If it's a Saturday in the weekend, I'm not gonna be pissed. That's fun time. That's unplugged time. That was my programming. And anger. Like, I would get angry just about stupid things, right? I would, be programmed to like blame my partner or whatever, or blame my past or blame the politicians, whatever. It's like, that was more my source code programming. And it's not a fault on my parents or anything. It's that has been the state of the world. It has been stressful to make money. It's not easy to build a business or, even hold down a high level job or whatever. But here's the thing, you can actually change that, and it will add years to your life too. I mean, I'm not making a medical claim. I'm just saying for myself, I know that this has added years to my life because I don't have the stress and the irritation anymore at all like I used to. Yeah, there's some days where, life is tough and I get hit with the curveball. Okay, cool. But it's like a moment where I'm like, oh, I did not see that coming. Okay, got it, learn, next. Instead of in the past, I'd have 6 hours where I'd be in a mood. Or I'd be like, oh, I gotta, I'd want to go like smoke weed or something to like change my state. That was my old programming, okay? So if you resonate with this, click the link in the description. Or if you're watching this on Facebook, because I'm sure I'm going to put it on different channels, find me on Facebook. Easiest way to get a hold of me. Or Instagram's fine. I don't check IG as much. But Facebook. Send me a message. Just be like, hey, dude, I saw that video. Let's connect. Okay? And I let's just have a conversation. Because if you've watched this and you resonate on some level with this, I know that I see you within me. And I know that you are me in another life. I'm going to say that again. You are me in another life. And I'm you in another life. And so I make this because I want to help you thrive. Okay? And if I can share things with you, and I have a whole library of resources, I have the best documentaries I've ever seen. I have so much cool stuff. I have free community. We got local masterminds. We got Friday Zoom calls. There is so much cool stuff. We have a podcast we've done 228 episodes of. I can share very specific stuff that can help you, but only if you actually want the help. And if you want the help, prove it by just reaching out, okay? So, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I'll share a little more on the vision too, just so you can see if this aligns with what you want to see. So part of the vision. So I live here in Minnesota, right? We run a meetup at a pretty nice office space in Bloomington area, and it's cool. We started it 4 years ago. My now wife, me, and then my friend Pedro. We were working together, and we were always reading these self-development books, and we're like, hey, what if we did a book club? Where's the other book clubs? Where are the people who are actually serious about self-development? Not just oh yeah, I know I should do my meditation, but actually dude, I want to learn all these books. I want to download them into my mind, and I want to be freaking smart, and I want to make a ton of money and then change the world. Where are those people? And it was literally just us right away. We threw it on meetup.com, and I think I threw it on somewhere on Facebook or something. And we'd occasionally have a few people show up, and we just did it. We did it every 2 weeks. That has morphed now into what we call the Minnesota Success Mastermind. And it is so cool. We've literally had couples that met through that group that are now married and have kids. And now my kids are friends with their kids. Well, their kid is one of them specifically. But there's a whole network of these people. I'm sharing that because you locally in your community, if you live local to me, you should come out and come to our mastermind and help us grow it. But even in your own community, I can show you how to build that. We've literally had thousands of people come through that meetup. If you want to have a cool community around you, I can literally show you the blueprint of how we do that. And then we occasionally do events at our homestead. And so it's people that want to learn, gardening, raising animals, more sustainable living, how to preserve food, how to have a food forest. What even is a food forest, right? It's literally we built a whole orchard. So one of the events, we planted 14 trees, and the kids from the community were helping us do it. And they were having a blast, and it was raining. And, I was like, hey, if you want to go inside, you can. They're no, I want to be here. This is fun. Think about this. We're planting trees, literally, that now our kids are going to be able to enjoy the fruits of, literally the fruits of our labor. And it does something to you when you plant a tree. It does something to you when you plant something in a garden. And you actually can enjoy that, after a year or 2 years when it starts to come in. Because it forces you to look at a different time horizon. We're so used to looking for deadlines and I got to get my boss's paperwork, by Friday. instead of like, hey, where's my property going to be in 7 years? Who's going to be in our community in 7 years? We're at the point this year. So we have 2 apple trees that produce pretty hardcore every 2 years. Like it's a lot. We're at the point where I was eating apples every day from, it was like mid-July. They started coming in, they're kind of early, but it was like an early harvest. Mid-July through like late September. And we had, no, this would have been October. We had so many apples. I would eat like 2 or 3 a day with Aristotle, my son. We'd just be out there. Jess would eat some every day. We had so many. We were just giving them away. We'd go to the mastermind, the meetup. I'd have a whole box full of apples. And we would just eat them throughout the whole mastermind. And then at the end, I'm like, I don't want them. I literally have so many at home. They're falling on they're killing our grass. Like, I'm going to go eat those. And then people would just give them away. Why? I want to show people abundance. And guess what? We planted like 6 more apple trees. So at a certain point, we will have so much freaking food and we have cool land and everything. And so if you want to come learn how to do that, and then also how you could do that for yourself, that's part of why we have this. It's an educational retreat center. It's a win-win for everyone around, because when you come out, my kids end up learning cool stuff from you. You get to learn, maybe you help us harvest some food, whatever. But then it's fun for us. Like, this is what I want to do on my Saturday, is hang out with like-minded people who are into this kind of thing. And then people will come over here and teach us stuff. Like, I have another friend, and she came and she stayed with us, and she's like a dog trainer. She like teaches the fancy dogs, like the ones that are like 20, 30 grand for a dog. That'll go to like some retired military person, or like a firefighter with PTSD, whatever. Like proper service dogs, or even dogs that are in movies, like the ones that look like wolves in movies, right? Someone has to train those dogs. That's her. And she stayed with us for a while, and she's hanging out with my kids. She's helping us train our dog. She brought us some awesome food. We're giving her the royal treatment here. And it's like, that's the kind of stuff that we can be doing all the freaking time. But you got to build up to that. Okay. It's day by day. You got to build that and have that vision. And so, the other part I wanted to share about the vision is, locally. So we meet right now, our mastermind meets at a pretty nice office space, and I like it. They do a great job with it. We've been through a lot of office spaces, especially during the COVID. We were going strong because people needed community, and we finally found a really cool office. But nonetheless, I want to have our own space. So part of the vision too, over the next like 2-3 years, is we'll have our own headquarters here somewhere around the city, where we can actually have it be a space, but it will also be like co-working. So if you want to come work there, if you want to have, there'll be like a podcast studio, there'll be a cool lounge, there'll be a coffee shop, like all of that cool, like the coolest hangout spot headquarters, but then it'll have a huge event space. Because this is down the road. What I envision is every single Saturday, we have 500 of the most ambitious people locally who are into self-development. They're into, this kind of thing. I've been talking about this whole freaking video, right? Where we hang out like every Saturday. Kind of like how a lot of people see almost like their church, or like for like kids, like the youth group or whatever. But serving that function for the people who are serious, like with church, I think it's so cool when the people are actually talking about like, hey, how am I going to go live the message of Jesus for real? Like all the, music and the chanting, whatever, I think sometimes that can dilute from the point. And I remember as a kid going to church and sometimes being like, well, how many people here are like actually trying to do like what Jesus did? He's talking about, hey, guys, shouldn't we have like equality and treat our neighbors as we actually want to be treated? I'm like, dude, I like that. I want to have a hangout every single Saturday. Well, which again, we already do, but I want to take this to the whole next level and then have a space for it. And then that is where we can have homeschooling events. And again, if you don't homeschool your kids and you have your kids in school, that's fine. But when you want a place on Saturdays where they can come and there's cool adults, and then let's say they have like a learning lesson, and I could bring in my neighbor who's a proper farmer, and he does like grass-fed cattle, they got like the whole proper setup for like really cool regenerative farming, and he could come in and teach a lesson just for free, right? And if you want to buy some of his products, sure. But it's like, that's the vibe of it. That's the energy of it. And then, I got, other friends who do all sorts of cool businesses. Some people are into real estate, whatever. But imagine your kid at age 8 is learning, oh, wow, I could buy a building. Oh, cool, I could have a farm. They could, all of the things they could learn and be exposed to, but without having it to be done at like school or something under some other teacher, and you're not there and you kind of miss it. versus you learning alongside them with all these other local people, right? Wouldn't you want to be part of that? Like, wouldn't you want that in your local community too? So I can literally show you the blueprint of how we're doing this, because that's the bigger vision, is to have this be a blueprint here. And then we already have the same meetup through our community in like 32, 33 cities around the world. So to then have a blueprint for this, so in every city you go to, you can find the cool people. And if you have like a membership pass or however it'll work. Now, if you're going to go to Chicago or LA or Berlin, Germany or wherever, you can now say, hey, there's going to be 100 people in that community that I'll get along with. Cool. They'll probably host you, right? That's the bigger vision. So then we can actually change the culture, because this culture needs to change. Right now, we live in a world where people are so okay with mediocrity. And now you have AI creating like insane level of, like, these kids in the video games, they're getting so addicted now. And we're going to hit a point, unfortunately, but I think it's too far gone, where so many people are going to feel more safe just being home, just strapping on the metaverse goggles or whatever. Those new Apple goggles are crazy. They're getting so good. And people are going to prefer that to the real world, I think, for a while. Then people are going to get tired of that because they know they need human connection. But then they're so awkward and shy because they haven't gone out in a few years. And so it's like having a cool like landing pad for people to actually build real community of people who actually care. That is the vision, okay? And if you want to be part of that on any way, shape, or form, or if any of this resonated, reach out, find me on Facebook, just like, hey, I watched that video, this resonated with me, let's connect, okay? Because if I can be of service to you, and maybe I can introduce you to someone, maybe I can help you, get some new perspective on things, or maybe you're like, dude, I want to go all the way with this, reach out, let's connect, all right? See ya.